Goldwater's case, why was there a question about his, and he was the Republican nominee, about his possible natural-born citizenship?
Well, Senator Goldwater was born in Arizona while it was still a territory. So there actually was a lawsuit. It was a very short-lived lawsuit, but a lawsuit filed challenging his qualifications as a natural-born citizen of the United States. And actually, even going back a little bit further, Franklin Delano Roosevelt Jr. was at one time considered a viable candidate for the presidency, but he did not end up running. And it's hard to track down why, but one of the theories is that he was born in Nova Scotia, one of the family homes outside the United States.
And the Romney case, I don't think is terribly significant. He was born in Mexico to American parents, but he never actually even ran in a primary. He dropped out of the race before we even got 10 votes, right? But now Ted Cruz's case has some unique components. Only one of his parents was an American citizen, and I think in the other case, certainly in the McCain case, both of his parents were American citizens.
That's right.
McCain was born on arguably U.S. territory because it was a military installation in Panama. Ted Cruz was born in Canada, and there's another element to Cruz that doesn't exist in any of the other cases, which is Ted Cruz is the only one of these people who actually had a citizenship other than United States citizenship. He actually had Canadian citizenship.
Yes. I'm not sure that makes a significant difference here. I think that's certainly a distinction, but the real issue is, what did the framers of the Constitution mean by natural-born citizenship? And we know a great deal about why they were worried. They didn't want a foreign nobleman to come to the United States and, with the power of the foreign nobility behind him, actually become president of the United States. They didn't want the kind of monarch that they were fleeing from, in a sense, with the revolution, because if you think about it, George III came from a foreign country and became the ruler of England, and there was certainly a lot of precedent for having foreign monarchs. They didn't want to have a foreign president because of that concern over the power of the European nobility.
Ted Cruz says this is settled law. Settled law is normally a phrase we use with cases that have gone through the Supreme Court and been adjudicated. We don't have that here, right?
You're exactly right, Lawrence, exactly. It's
so
not settled
what is
law.
your reading of this situation as it involves Senator Cruz? If he were to become the nominee, what would happen? Would you expect litigation? Would you expect some kind of challenge? How long would it take?
There's already a challenge. I know that there's a case that's been filed in Broward County, Florida. They're challenging his natural-born citizenship credentials. I don't think that case will survive because the person filing it on a pro se basis, filing it in his own right, is essentially arguing that as a voter, he has a right to vote for only constitutionally qualified candidates. Usually the courts will not entertain that kind of action because it's more of a generalized grievance than a specific injury. We've heard that Congressman Alan Grayson is thinking about filing a lawsuit. I think we would see a number of other lawsuits popping up. Whether anyone would actually have standing, that is, would be a proper party to bring those lawsuits, is a question that's a very difficult one to resolve. If someone like Donald Trump, though, a rival candidate, were to actually file a lawsuit, I think there's a good chance that a court would take that case to the merits.
Because an opposing candidate seems to be obviously in a position to have standing in a case like this.
Absolutely, because standing under the federal Constitution requires an injury. It requires someone to have that injury traceable to a defendant's conduct, and it requires that a court order could redress it. So I think this is an important question. I think it's one that matters not only in this race, but to the thousands, tens of thousands, and millions of immigrant families who believe that they are just as loyal to the United States as people who are born here, and something that is going to continue to hang over our presidential elections until we resolve it by a definitive Supreme Court ruling or by a constitutional amendment.
Yeah, and your law review article, you recommend a constitutional amendment, and one of your many concerns in this is succession. We're careful about choosing presidents and vice presidents, but we don't think that much about the others in line of succession, which goes right through the cabinet. And we've had people in the cabinet, like Henry Kissinger, who were in the line of succession. Yeah, but we would have had to to skip over them because they're
Yes.
not natural-born citizens. We're going to have to move down in succession as we go, and only a constitutional amendment can really address this and fix this in a way that we'd have absolute clarity.
That's a great point, Lawrence. And I think the fact that we are willing as a nation to give so much power and authority to these people means that we have come to an understanding that place of birth is not necessarily the best surrogate for loyalty. That said, it's not settled.
Right. Professor Sarah Duggan, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I don't think this is the last time you're going to be discussing this. I have a feeling that Donald Trump and Ted Cruz are going to have this discussion go on for a while. Thank you very much, Professor.
I think you're right.